out of the Hero. He's a Nanovis though. Links are out. Tactical visor in. Diffusion trying to avoid him here, but they don't really have anywhere to run. And Neptune's caught him in there. That's great for Linkster. Perfect opening. Perfect finish.
Basically, when I started off playing video games, like the major games that I remember playing was Crash Team Racing when I was younger, for example. It was one of those games that kind of kindled my competitive spirit. After Crash Team Racing, I remember playing StarCraft 2 with a lot of friends and went to like local Finnish lands to practice and play against like other StarCraft players. I remember meeting, this is like super long ago, so I don't know if anyone remembers Naama. A Finnish Terran player. I met Elfi, like a Finnish Protoss player back then, and I met like a really young Serral.
Network has been planted down as well.
Oh, that fungal from the high ground! Serral, you monster!
I think competitive games have always been part of my life, and I've always been like a fairly competitive person. When I got to Counter-Strike, that's when I kind of like lost it when it came to like games. Like ever since I started playing Counter-Strike, I've always wanted to go pro in a video game. I think I became like fairly well established in EU. I was friends with a lot of like the OG players back then. Big part of my drive and my passion for the game came from internet talk. Like we were making a team together, and he was like cheering me on. I initially had like plans to go play with him in Envy, or like the initial roster of Envy, but I decided to stay with my initial friends. But after a while, that team kind of imploded in a way, and I kind of learned a lot from them since they were older than me. They've been in the scene for longer, and like just in general like more mature people, you know. Like I was such a child back then, and even now I'm a bit of a child. But when the Overwatch League rumors started to come around and the scouting phase basically started to begin, Team Giganti was like winning pretty much every LAN. And I remember like during contenders, I got a message from Flame that if I was interested to joining Houston Outlaws. Like I remember back then, the message was so like nonchalant, you know? It was like, hey, you want to join the Houston Outlaws? It was so nonchalant for Flame. And I just remember like, is this real? Like I was thinking, is this real? Like, did I really get invited to the league? And I remember saying, yeah, I would be happy to join. Like a couple of weeks later, he starts talking about contracts and stuff, and I'm like, oh, it was real.
Such a great job of staggering people onto this point, using up time out of the time bank. I think they bought themselves nearly a full minute.
Wow.
It's crazy. And now the May comes back in. Taimu with that ice block. This is so...
I think during first season, I had like moments where I kind of doubted myself. During the first season, it was like hard to communicate about like certain things, like from within me, you know, like in terms of like social skills and like adapting to new people. Like back in my previous teams, people would be maybe more straightforward, they would be more confrontational, and I think some cultural aspects might have like affected how I behaved initially in the first year. I didn't necessarily trust those around me because I kept thinking like, oh, I need to have a really good game, or like people will think that I'm bad, or like we can't win or something. I kind of disliked that phase that I had where I didn't really talk to my friends about, you know, what I was going through, and I know they could have helped me back then too. So I think a lot of the pressure got to me in a kind of non-productive way, but you live and learn, and new experiences specifically, you know, they teach you a lot about yourself. And I wanted to be the best player, but I didn't necessarily do all the things that a best player would do because of my own fears and my own enemies, like demons, I guess.
We saw this from him at the World Cup in Incheon. This man is out of control. Gets another shot there onto Aid under a little bit of fire. Oh, he gets him mid-sleep dart. He didn't even hit the ground yet.
Streaming, I did think about streaming like full time basically during the off season, but I don't feel like competitively fulfilled yet.
The drop it as Dreamer just continues to disrupt.
Nice.
Linkser finds KSP 6-on-5, and that's going to take the wind out of the sails of the Valiant.
Okay, Linkser.
During the off season, I contacted many teams. I had like my own interest in teams. Vancouver kind of came like from the left field. I ended up getting in contact with the manager of the team. They were like, okay, we can do a couple trial sessions and see how it goes. Meeting the team the first time, obviously I had my like expectations, right? So I was thinking like what kind of people they are, how they play the game, how they communicate, and like during the first block, I remember I was like positively surprised about the atmosphere of the team. They work together, they want to work together, and they all share the same goal. That's how it felt like, and to me that's like it was like important. Coming in as like an outsider, I felt like part of the team, because even if we don't know each other, if you're working towards like the same goals, you kind of end up like connecting with these people.
Go for it. They're coming into the very end here. But they lose Awesome Guy. Nice shot again from Linkser. Oh boy!
Vast amount of experiences throughout my years in Overwatch and in Overwatch League that I have met with people. I have like problems I faced, and I think those experiences, since the Vancouver team is mostly kind of new, right? So having like a outsider perspective come in, and like I'll try to share as much as I can and like help the players grow as much as I can, and kind of be like a force behind like each individual's like personal growth in some ways, and hopefully like that translates into like the team improving together at like a pretty decent pace.
Starting on low ground.
I think with the way he just keeps looking up at him, I was going to say he's worried about Sinatra coming on the flank.
I wonder if by the end of the year I'll say a boot. Because, I started using y'all. I started using y'all in text. I thought it's like a good way to say you all, like everyone. I wonder if I'll say y'all a boot tomorrow. I wonder if it's gonna catch on.